Alrighty, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Konrad, your host on Wednesday Night Reviews, and today I'm joined by Peter out Nova Scotia way to talk comics. So, Peter, thank you for coming on the show.
The New Brunswick way, actually.
My apologies, New
Yeah,
Brunswick way.
yeah. St. John, New Brunswick, Port City, oldest incorporated city in Canada, actually, for a little bit of trivia.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
240 something years old, I guess. Oldest active city market too in the country is actually downtown St. John.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
Doesn't that also make it older than Canada?
Yes,
As in,
yes. It
yeah,
is. It
okay, that's
is.
cool. By like 40 some odd years.
Yeah. Well, St. John's a port city, right? And they used to be uh, like quite the commerce coming out of the port here at one time, eh? And there was a lot of it was like a lot of the trade and stuff was based with the New England states, right? And there's
Okay.
actually a plaque uptown that my son pointed out to me. Benedict Arnold, of notorious fame of American trader, actually had a business here in St. John.
Well, okay. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, no, I didn't know about it either. It was my son who pointed it out. He said, "Did you ever see that plaque up there in that building?" He says, "It says, this is a business that used to be owned by, Benedict Arnold." And I said, "Well, wasn't he like a trader?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you know." But they kind of commemorated here in St. John. Not the whole point of him being a trader, but just because he's kind of a notoriously famous name, right? So
Exactly, yeah. That's really cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us out from out east. Obviously, we're here to talk about comics, Peter. So I always like to start with, how did you get into the business of comics?
Well, interesting one. Always been a lifelong comic book reader, never really put much thought into be a comic book writer. Um, when we were kids, like I have a twin brother, John,
Mm-hmm.
and when we were kids, like we were raised by my grandmother, and the way she entertained us was, a piece of paper and a pencil, and, off we go, right? And our ambitions at that time when we were kids, were, and I'm going to date myself here, we were going to, we wanted to be artists for Marvel Comics, right? And the thing is back then, like to be an artist for Marvel Comics, you actually had to live in New York City, eh? Unlike today, where with
Oh.
the internet, where you can, you know what I mean, like you can like right now, I work with artists from all over the world, right? Like I work with artists from the Philippines, from Italy, from Brazil, from Florida, whatever, like. But back then when we were kids, we were, our dream was, to work in the bullpen with Stan Lee and Jack and all them, right? And but the thing is it turns out that I'm not an artist, right? And, I don't have that skill. If my life was dependent on being able to draw, I I might as well invest in a coffin, right? Because I have no ability whatsoever as an artist, right? And really didn't really think much of the whole writing aspect of it either, because it was about, I don't know, about 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, they were here in St. John. We were going to have the Fundy Fan Fest,
Mm.
which was, for New Brunswick, was a fairly big, Comic Con, and they were looking for somebody to create the first superhero to be showcased at the Fan Fest, like a mascot.
Yeah.
So Bella Lion and Heroes Beacon, our local comic book store, and Knuckle Down Studios and stuff, they were sponsoring this contest. So I'm listening to CBC radio one day. I hear this and I'm thinking, maybe I can do that, right? Maybe
Yeah.
I can be the guy who creates the first the first St. John superhero to be showcased at the Fundy Fan Fest. And so I went into Knuckle Down Studios, and there was these Bella Lion people there, and some of the people from Heroes Beacon were there and stuff. And I just basically went in there with hat in hand, had no idea what I was doing, no experience whatsoever, pitched them. They entered my character into the contest. It was internet contest where
Mm-hmm.
it was voted on by by the public, and I won,
Awesome.
and so I'm next thing you know, I'm on a panel for Fundy Fan Fest, and I'm talking about how to create characters. I've never done this stuff before in my life, right? You know what I mean? So, I win this contest, and then I'm creating characters, and then so there's it made the local newspaper, it made the CBC, morning show, stuff like that. So, then I thought, well, maybe I actually have a little bit of skill going on here, right? So I
Yeah.
joined a local group called the Fundy Comic Art Society. There's some hidden treasures there as far as talent goes, right? And they decide that there's gonna be another Comic Con thing coming up called Fog City Comic Con.
Okay.
It was this would have been their second year that they had it, and Funny Comic Art Society wanted to do a fanzine, like a comic book,
Yeah.
to help raise money for the library, right? All the funds that we
Hmm.
were raising, we were all going to volunteer our work and whatever, and everything we raised was going to go back to the library to help fund this Fog City Comic Con, which actually turned out to be, you know, in hindsight, a really big event. It was like the largest draw for like St. John,
Oh wow.
like public library, or any public library in New Brunswick in the history of the library or something. Like they had pulled in like thousands and thousands of people like on this weekend. Like, they didn't
Whoa.
realize how, like how many people actually went to these Comic Cons and stuff. So we did this. Monique McNaughton and I, we wrote this story. The basis of the fanzine was, it came from the public domain, so we used public domain characters, and so
Nice.
I decided to write a story about Lord Greystoke, Tarzan of the Apes, and Lady Jane coming to St. John, New Brunswick to witness the building of the Reversing Falls Bridge, and I tied it in with the royal tour that had happened, actually really happened at that time in history, right?
Oh
And
cool.
the Reversing Falls Bridge is quite the engineering feat, and you know Tarzan's wife Jane's father in the canon of Edgar Rice Burroughs
Mhm.
was an engineer. So it kind of made sense that she would want to see this bridge. But long story short, the story gets the attention of the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate,
Stop.
and they didn't send me a cease and desist letter like they did to Dynamite Comics for their Lord of the Jungle. They sent me a letter that said, "Hey, we'd really like to archive your story. We'd like to have a copy. We want to put it in Tarzana, California. We
Wow.
want to have it on hand in the estate of Edgar Rice Burroughs." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I couldn't believe it. The first like story that I'd ever written comic book wise is now being recognized by Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate. They want a copy. So next thing you know, like CBC picks it up. So I'm CBC Morning Show. I'm on CBC Shift, which
Oh
is a
my
provincial one. I'm
god.
doing things for the newspaper and all this. And remember, I'd never written a comic book before in my life, and
Yeah.
and maybe 6 months prior to this, I'd won this contest, just kind of making it up as I was going along. So I kind of did the same thing when it came to the whole Tarzan thing. I did some research and whatever too, but I really didn't
Mhm.
expect that to happen. So then that opened a few more doors. I had some local people here, like there's some local comic book people here that like Waterfront Studios, Jimmy Hashi, Paul Beal, they
Yeah.
they've got some independent stuff that's going on. So they asked me if I'd Jimmy approached me, asked me if I'd write a Starbolt comic for him, so I agreed to do that. We used the same writer, Monique McNaughton. So
Yeah.
then I went on from that, and like I went from there, and then I decided, well, maybe I'll give this whole writing thing a try. So I started submitting scripts to Lucky Comics, which is a smaller independent comic book company in the United States,
Okay.
out of Denver, I think. And so they picked up my stories. I did an Unknown Tales for them. I did a Green Giant. I took the 1940s Green Giant and turned him into like a 2019 Green Giant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like modernized the character. And then I did a Beetle Girl story for Lucky Comics too. And that's their Spider-Man. That's their flagship character.
Okay.
So then that got the attention of other people. So independent comics is kind of like independent wrestling, the more you do it and the more you get your name out there, the other indies notice you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met a man named Bradley Golden, which I'll talk about later too, because Bradley's he's the inspiration and heart and CEO of Second Sight Publishing. But he had a thing going on for an imprint that he was doing called Mississippi Zombie, which right now is Mississippi Zombie's actually been nominated for a Ringo Award.
Oh, sweet.
The anthology, just like Harvest of Horrors, another one that I've got stories in, was also nominated for a Ringo Award. But back to the Mississippi Zombie, I wrote a story for Bradley, and I sent it to him, and just kind of impatient, and
Yeah.
and 2 weeks later, I'm messaging him. I'm like, what did you think of that? What did you think of that? Right. And he
Mm-hmm.
sends me back this message. He says, well, it's different. Right. And I thought, oh, what does different mean? Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Second guessing myself and stuff. And then he messaged me back, and I messaged him. I said, is different, is that good or is that bad? And he's like, he messaged back, no, different's great, man. I love different.
Oh,
You're
good.
you're you're hired, eh? So like, I'm like,
Oh.
oh, I can't believe it, right? So now I'm doing Mississippi Zombie, right? Caliber Comics. And they're like, Caliber's one of the bigger of the independent comic book people out there. So then
Mm-hmm.
I go from Caliber, I go to Antarctic Press. Bradley and I co-write Ghost for Exciting Comics. I did Indie Wars with Ben Dunn.
Wow.
Ben Dunn, the Ninja High School fame and the whole, editor for Antarctic Press. I did a Indie Wars storyline with him. Indie Wars was
Wow.
something that we did last year. Antarctic Press.
No.
It was like a whole Secret Wars, like Marvel's Secret Wars, except Indie Wars was independent comics version. They took different, like Ben came up with the idea, and he had we could use his Ninja High School characters, which, oh my lord, I was flattered to use. I knew who the Ninja High School characters were for years, and I got to use them in a storyline involving some of my own own characters. Ghost was in there, Lady Claw was in there. They were they had more minor roles. Constantine Lazar was a character that I concentrated on the most. But
Mm-hmm.
back to the Indie Wars, it was like a crossover event to help comic book shops, like to help up the sales for comic book shops
Yeah.
because of the pandemic, right? So I was pretty honored to be a part of that. There's a lot of big names that like I knew who they were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm my name's on the same page with them. And then I did that, and I've got all kinds of stuff on the go. I'm editor for Quantum Visions magazine from Second Sight Publishing. So not only am I a writer, but I'm also an editor, and that gives me a completely new perspective on things. Like, I did not know what editors did till I started doing what an editor does, right?
Yep.
So I wasn't 100% so I have a new appreciation for when I send submissions to people or from, stuff like that, because, I'd send a submission in a couple of weeks. I'd be like, oh, and whatever. And
Yep.
then I realize now with the Quantum Visions magazine that or anthology actually, that I'm doing, it's a heavy metal type anthology. It's
Okay.
going to be Second Sight's version of heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
We already have Harvest of Horrors, which is our horror anthology, and we already have Mississippi Zombie, which is an ongoing, like I said, award nominated title, just like Harvest of Horror. So we have those two horror titles ongoing. Caliber Comics publishes them for us, you
Okay.
know, in trade paperback form. They're available, and through Diamond, through previews. They're also available on Amazon. So if you ever
Right
want to look
on.
them up, you can find them on Amazon. The Mississippi Zombie and the Harvest of Horrors. Now, the Quantum Visions anthology is also going to be through Caliber. It's also going to be, like previews and Amazon and Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble and all that stuff. So like I'm looking for submissions. I have some content for the first, like mostly I have enough content for the first issue, and I'm looking forward to looking at content for the second issue. But
Okay.
get a lot of stuff sent to me. Like I have like teams from Nigeria,
Whoa.
and I have teams from like the Philippines and teams from South America. They're sending me stuff, and like the like I look at their like presentations, and how they have everything formatted, and that they have like the character Bible. They're sending that. They're sending.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
their pitches. Some of these pitches I'm getting are unreal, and I'm thinking, oh my god, like I can't believe people actually looked at my stuff. My pitches were nowhere near as good as these people's. Like, I mean, nowhere near, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I'm seeing that from the editor point of view, and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
some real talent out there, and there's some real, like they really put their time and effort and heart into this. Not that I didn't with my own stuff, and not that if somebody sends me something that looks like something I would have sent, that the heart isn't there. It is. I just some of the stuff I'm just boom, mind blown
It's
with all the
basically
different,
like ready to print when you're getting it, right?
yeah, with all the different
Wow.
pitches that I'm getting, so it's unreal. But thank you, internet, right? Like
Yep.
back to what I was saying, when I was young, like my brother and I, John, the only way we would have ever get into comics is move to New York City, because you'd have to work for Marvel, or
Yeah.
next door across the street, I think at that time was DC, right?
Yeah,
So to
something
work
like
for
that,
either one
yeah.
of them, you had to live there. Like now, like I'm Bradley and I just finished. We co-wrote a comic together. It's called These Damn Kids. It's coming out Halloween. It's a horror story. Bradley's a master at horror, right? So
Mm.
you want to read good horror, read Bradley Gold and stuff, right? He's got some trade paperbacks out there, and I'll talk about them later. But we worked with Helmut Racco from the Philippines for this, and
Okay.
phenomenal. Actually, I'll actually show you. This is the cover for. That's the cover for These Damn Kids.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's the cover. That's coming out. That'll be coming out in. We want to have a Halloween release for it. So
Yeah,
our
I mean that just fits really
yeah,
well.
and so like the Diamond previews will be like I think Diamond does it like 3 months in advance. So the Diamond
Yeah.
previews for that would be like, if this is coming out in the 10th month, it'll be the 7th month, so it'll be August, right?
Yeah,
I think
July,
that's
August,
how
yep.
I think that's how Diamond works, right?
Yeah, in and about there.
So yeah,
Awesome.
something like that, yeah.
Now,
So
real quick, Peter, just to step back. So, 'cause you mentioned quite a bit. So that project, these damn kids, is
yes.
being done by Quantum,
No, that's being done by Second Sight Publishing.
Second Sight.
I also work for Second Sight. I'm an editor for their Quantum Visions anthology, which is
Okay.
going to be published through Caliber, like Mississippi Zombie and Harvest of Horrors are right now. Um, I actually There's Mississippi Zombie right there, trade paperback form. Harvest of
Nice.
Horrors is going to look like that.
Okay.
So this is our comic version of Harvest of Horrors. Now it's going to be
Oh.
out in a trade paperback version. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's me right there.
Love it.
So on the cover here is myself and COO publisher. writer extraordinary, two-time Glyph nominated award writer, Marcus Roberts, and peeking around the corner here is is publisher and writer extraordinaire Bradley Golden, and the heart of the company.
Nice.
He's the founder and CEO, and then Spike Gerald's on here too. He's the art director, and I think that's Spike right there. Yeah, so
Nice.
that's a homage cover that Bradley had done. He had it done with all of us, like all the people from Second Sight on the
Yeah.
cover. It's a homage to Monster Squad, you know. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
Um,
I want to make sure I'm understanding. So Second Sight Press is the
Second Sight
comic book
Publishing, yes,
Sorry, Second Sight
yes,
Publishing is the company that you are a part of,
yes,
which is responsible for writing and drawing that book, or
yes,
those books, I should say,
yes,
and it's being printed by or published by Caliber, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we have a comic book form like this. This one here came out from us, from Second Sight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Caliber's picking up. Caliber, we have a contract with Caliber
Okay.
Comics, and they've done stuff like with Bendis and other people like that. They're a pretty big name in themselves, right?
Hmm.
And so we've got like, like Caliber right there. You can see the
Yeah.
um
Right
the
on.
our Mississippi Zombie comic books are through Caliber. They're printed through Caliber and are and distributed through Diamond and Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the Harvest of Horrors that I just showed you, that is now being done by Caliber, trade paperback form, same as the Mississippi Zombie. It's on sale, Barnes and Noble. You can get it on Amazon, Amazon in Canada, Amazon United States. You can buy it. It'll be out in stores everywhere in June.